Hello everyone, I would like to tell you a story. A story about the game Monopoly. Most of you will have played it at least once. Quite likely you will have played it multiple times. I'd like to tell you about an experience I had earlier today. We played Pokemon Monopoly. This was with my mother, my brother, my father, and myself, with the four of us. We usually play Disney Monopoly because that's the one we had, or still have, but I convinced him to play Pokemon Monopoly instead. So we played Pokemon Monopoly. Now, in Monopoly, you have winning, you have losing, and I suppose if you only count last place as losing, then you have second and third. Although, I'm really competitive, so it's either winning or not winning. And then there are the very rare cases that are just called domination. That happened today. Obviously, you all start out with the same, and you have a slight advantage or disadvantage at the start compared to others. But it was quite clear quite quickly that my mother had the advantage, and my brother was somewhat close, and my dad and I would probably be fighting for a third and fourth, though I'd probably get last place, because it wasn't going well. Had to mortgage pretty early on. From this point on in the vlog, I'm going to show you a good amount of pictures that I took. And these pictures are from the near end game to the end of the game. And I'm just going to talk while that happens. So when my talk is done, I'll make sure the photos are done as well. So let the photos begin. What you will see is my mother having a lot of cards, a lot of property. In Pokemon Monopoly, that's a lot of gyms. She has multiple balls. She has both Articuno and Zapdos, which my father had before until he went bankrupt. Somehow I beat him. Because even though it was looking really bad for me and I had to start mortgaging... Well, it was just the Pokeball that I had to mortgage at first. But I had to mortgage first. But then I was so lucky. It was like the first quarter of the board, my mom had both of these streets, and then the final quarter of the board, you had the green street and the dark blue one. The green one was my brother's, but he had a Pokemart on it, I think one each, and then my dad had dark blue, the final one. And although I occasionally landed on some of these spots, quite often I'd be right in between them. I just have to pay Team Rocket 100 Poké-Dollars. Or I would land on Professor Oak, and then land on Start, and then land on Professor Oak, and then Professor Oak would tell me, go to Start. And then I'd go to Professor Oak, and Professor Oak would tell me, go to jail, which at that point I really wanted, because a quarter of the board, the final quarter and the first quarter, both meant almost certainly you're going to lose a lot of money. Where even the very first space you can land on, which is a Geodude in Brock's Gym, costs 450, and at that point for me that was a lot, because I didn't have it. So, I somehow survived with a lot of luck, was in jail. I was really happy I was in jail, never paid my way out of jail, unless of course I had to, by not throwing doubles. Sure, I can't really do much, but I could still get some money, and it's mostly that I cannot lose money while I'm in there. That was the main thing, and it was pretty clear at some point my mother won. There was one street, I think it was Koga's Gym, so the yellow street, so the 6th street, she had two of, I had the final piece, and I think I had two of the 4th street, the orange one, which she had the final piece of, and we tried to get it from each other, but I asked, like, I had Vileplume, she had Weezing, I asked for more than the normal street value of the Weezing. I wanted her Vileplume plus then the 80 plus some more, and she just didn't want to do that. And I think I really didn't want to give her the Weezing because I knew that that would just give her even more places to build Pokemarts and buy us out. So even though I really, really wanted to win, I made the decision somewhere early on. Well, I suppose it's almost halfway into the game at that point, but it's still somewhat early on to really make such a decision to not go for first place anymore. If I really wanted to go for first place, I would have probably given that to her and just play the risk game. But that would make it more likely for me to land on those spaces where my mom would have then placed Pokemarts like on the yellow street, and then I would just lose so much more money that I could gain. The risk was just too high, so I just didn't do that deal. And somehow through the jails, through landing on start or on free parking, things like that, and paying some money but never too great of things, I survived. I made it through until my dad went bankrupt. He landed on some pretty nasty spots. And he had to pay some money to my mum. And according to the rules of the Monopoly game, he couldn't pay everything. I think he needed like 80 more or something, 75, something like that. If he still has something to pay to a person and he's mortgaged everything, sold everything, and still owes that person something, he just gives everything to that person. If it would have been he owes something to the bank, then as the bank, like the bank auctions them off to other players and everyone can just bid on them. But because it was to a person, that person just gets everything. So that's how my mom got Zapdos and Articuno. That's how my mom got the Dark Blue Street, as if it couldn't get any worse. And then she got something else. I think my dad had another street too. No, I don't think so. He had something. I think he had one of the balls. I think he had the Master Ball, I think. So my mom got that too. No, my brother had Master. Anyway, she got everything that, and then my brother, he seemed at at the halfway point the only one that could sort of challenge my mum. But after he got unlucky for quite a lot of times in a row, while I was getting that quite lucky streak, it seemed like I could even beat him to second place, and I really thought a quarter into the game I'd be last place because I was so far behind. And it was close, and then in the end I needed to pay my mum, I think, $5.50 because I landed on one of her spaces. It was twice in a row that I landed like on start, or just on a focus on the Professor Oak that sent me to start, and then the Professor Oak in the first quarter, which allowed me to dodge stuff. That happened twice in a row. Third time didn't work. Had to pay my mum in, even with all the mortgages that I could still set up and selling what I had left, which was almost nothing. I think I totaled. I needed to pay 600, and I could pay 588. I missed 12. It is a very small amount, but I couldn't do it, so I was out. And because I still owed something to a person, which was my mom, I gave everything to her. And some of the pictures you'll have seen were from that point as soon as I was knocked out, and the rest was from a few minutes later when my brother, it was, I think first turn he survived, second turn I'm not sure, but at least on his third throw after I was out, he was out as well. He just had to pay too much. As soon as my mom had my stuff and it was her turn, she unmortgaged everything instantly, put money, put Pokemarts on everything that I had, because she could then complete the orange street and the yellow street, put stuff on there. My brother had nowhere to go. He eventually mortgaged stuff, could survive one hit, have paying money, but then he could not get any money except by just dodging everything and just getting to go. That's the only way he could get money. And while my mom owned 7 of the streets, my brother owned the dark green one. But even that he had to mortgage it after I was knocked out. And then 1 or 2 turns later it was done, and my mother just obliterated us. Sure, eventually someone wins Monopoly, but she, from very early on, had the lead. It was ridiculous. Yeah, I don't always win. It was really unfortunate already that I didn't get the Dark Blue Streak, because I very often go for that and just get it. But it was appropriately enough, my dad got Nidoking, my mom got Nidoqueen. Eventually, I think my dad got it from my mom. She, during just during the game he bought it from her, for a good deal. But my mom, they got it back when my dad went bankrupt, so. She was definitely going for getting people bankrupt. She was really harsh in making deals. Well played, Mom. Well played. You are the Monopoly champ. Congratulations.